Today, we've got a first for the show. We've got a guest from Walmart itself who's going to talk about how to get set up on the platform, how to get organic ranking, how to take advantage of the delivery network, and a special announcement you don't want to miss about our Sell and Scale Summit. How cool is that? Pretty cool, I think. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Serious Sellers Podcast by Helium 10. I am your host, Bradley Sutton, and this is the show that's a completely BS-free, unscripted, and unrehearsed organic conversation about serious strategies for serious sellers of anybody in the e-commerce world. And we've got a special guest today for the first time ever on this show. Somebody from Walmart is here with us. He's going to talk all things Walmart. Matt, how's it going?
It's going well, man. Thanks for having us on. Us, meaning, you know, Big W. And
the Big W.
Real.
Like if I would like West Side over here, like I'm a 90s kid, so I'm remembering those things. The Big W means a little something different in this case. But anyways, I know like literally nothing about you other than your name here. And that's only because it actually says so on this little screen that I have here. I hope it's okay to call you Matt or Matthew. Do you go by?
You can call me whatever you want as long as you call me. That's what I tell people.
There we go. I love it. I love it. All right. So Matt, I mean, I in another life, used to go to Bentonville to Walmart headquarters because I work for like a food production company, and we like presented things. Is that where you're based, or where are you based?
That's super cool. We should talk about that. It's changed a lot in recent years. No, I'm actually on the coast. I'm on the East Coast, just outside of Manhattan. One of our e-commerce offices is in Hoboken. Our other one is in San Bruno in the SFO area. So yeah, but definitely get to Arkansas quite a bit. E-com, structures a bit of a vestige from, the Jet acquisition. So if you visit us in Hoboken, you might see the odd purple reference or, lowercase purple J.
Yeah.
Remember
old jet.com for you old timers out there.
Jet.com origins. Yeah. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Okay. And like, how did you get to Walmart? Like, what's your background? Did you study e-commerce, or what was your what did you study in school?
That's what I often wonder. I said, did anybody? I often wonder that.
Pretty much no.
I'm old enough that I came in through a different door, let's say. My studies are not related. They're in environmental management and more minors than we have, time to talk about. I actually moved to New York, with aims of being a musician, songwriter, composer, et cetera. And you can tell how successful that was by just trying to find me on Spotify or SoundCloud. But no, I just kind of tripped into advertising on the agency side many years ago, and was lucky enough to work for a boutique shop, which at the time was focusing on what we called at that time the emerged markets, or the emerging markets of African American, Latinx, which we called Hispanic back then, and LGBTQ plus, which we called GNL back then. So that might give you a little bit of a barometer of how long I've been in the game. But it was cool because we were working directly with large companies like Target stores, HBO, Mercedes-Benz on, full service comms and marketing strategies to reach, niche communities. And so I got into the sales door through business development, pitching agency services, and then kind of parlayed that into actual advertising sales jobs, and got started in magazines and worked my way up there. And, companies like some of which are no longer around, Rodale, for example. I worked at Men's Health and Best Life. And then eventually, really got focused on digital in publisher.com extensions, places like Wired.com and Best Company, et cetera, and then into Pure Plays, then apps. And then my door into Walmart came through the media group, and was really privileged to be on that launch team that was building the in-house media services, which we now know as Walmart Connect. So got to get my crash course in Walmart company and WMC, as we now call it, there. And then about a year ago, had the opportunity to parlay that into business development for Walmart Marketplace, right? And so we've all seen from recent earnings reports what a huge part of the growth engine for Walmart e-commerce is, and where Marketplace sits in that. We'll talk a lot about it, I assume. But to me, that was just like, got to be a part of that. And so it's still sales in a way, but a little more consultative, I'll say. And we still get to work, pretty closely with Connect as well. So that's where I came from. That's what I'm doing. I hope I still qualify to finish the podcast with you.
Let's do it. Yeah, no, this is interesting stuff. Like maybe you're not a musician anymore, but you're singing the tunes of Walmart these days in your own way. Now you mentioned something there, Walmart Marketplace. Now, a lot of people now know about Walmart and things, but correct me if I'm wrong. I'm kind of new to this, but before wasn't like the third party marketplace kind of like separate from like the regular Walmart.com, and now they're together, or am I making sense here? Is something like that happened in the last year or so?
A lot's happened in a very short time. When I joined 3 years ago, our Omni org was sort of distinct, and we had an e-commerce department, and we had the stores department, and they were on sort of separate P&Ls, and they were pretty separate entities. And I think what's cool is many months ago, I think maybe this was pre-COVID. Our fact checkers will not like that I don't know the exact date, but we merged the org, and I think the rationale there, which was very publicized, was we can just do so much more for the customer if we bring these two worlds together. So that happened, let's say, a couple of years ago, and then within that. Marketplace being third party, there's just became an opportunity for us to work really closely with the Omni team on just how do you do better for the customer? How do you get more and of the right and better products to help customers live better lives, and kind of remove channel planning, right? And like 1P owned inventory versus 3P relationship. If you can take that off the table as an objection, you can just move so much more quickly. So I'd say, we're still building out that model, right? Of how, and I think I'll quote one of our VP merchants who said, this was also a couple of years ago, there's no playbook for the world's largest retailer going omni, right? Bringing these worlds together. And so, it's thrilling. And yeah, to your question directly, we are working more and more in just terms of an agnostic kind of channel planning discussion, channel planning approach as to what makes the most sense for the seller and for the customer, right? And whether that's 3P or 1P, and we can talk about the mechanics of that. But ultimately, it's just about fulfilling on the customer promise with speed and just raising the bar on that over and over and over.
Well, as far as sellers go, you mentioned 1P, you mentioned 3P. Hey, there's people who are established brands, be it on Shopify, be it on Amazon, be it in brick and mortar. There's emerging sellers. There's brand new sellers who have never sold anything. From Walmart's standpoint, do you have a preference as far as, hey, which group you're looking to really get on the platform? Does one group have an advantage over another? How does that work?
Yeah, that's super interesting. I mean, I think it helps to start from just our overall philosophy on marketplace, which is this has to be a way to greatly accelerate our delivery, of that. I keep referring to the customer promise, but if you think about, customer promise started in brick and mortar retailers, and then with the advent of e-commerce, you were able to get more, right, and faster into more customers. And now with marketplace, what that has to be is just a way to really drive the e-commerce flywheel and get even more right to the customer, more of what they want, faster and faster and faster, and in a way that just gets them access to things they need. So, we approach marketplace maybe differently than some other retailers and some other platforms in that it's an open marketplace, right? And with the scale of Walmart, what that will ensure is that we can be broadly available to the largest quantity of sellers who essentially have a right to be, selling to our customers. And so that's where we sort of, when you remove, that wall of Walmart needing to dictate offer and product and selection and everything that's going to show up to the customer, like get that out of like the Walmart conference room, right? And actually allow, sellers to come to us and bring that to the customer. It's just that sort of democratic and agnostic approach is what is going to help us scale. And scale is what we need to drive density, right? And actually, really, really power the flywheel. And so I'll say within that, we take the customer promise extremely seriously, and we have to make sure that we deliver on customer promise, whether it's a 1P supplier that's doing, billions of dollars of sales with Walmart as a legacy partner, or a new maybe 5 or 6 item, entrepreneur operating out of their home on the marketplace. There's effectively no difference in terms of what we expect from sellers.
Yeah.
And so questions of compliance, legal compliance, trust and safety, minimum guarantees of sort of shipping quality, offer quality, et cetera. I mean, these are all things that, help us make sure that the best actors are getting the best offers, to the customer. But we're not tilting the table in favor of one supplier or another. We're not an invite only marketplace. I think, to move with speed, you got to basically assume that the customer is going to probably get there before you do in terms of signaling what they want, and they're going to be looking for it. And so how can we operationalize ourselves to be responsive to that demand, but in a responsible way that makes sure we make it an open but a safe and a fair marketplace. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah. But a follow-up question on that is, it's definitely understandable that, hey, if you get on the platform, you got to play by the rules, and you want to, focus on giving everybody kind of a uniform experience. That being said, I remember, like, I haven't applied to sell on Walmart in a while, but when I applied, I remember there was like a kind of like a field that had said something like, hey, show us your current presence, be it in brick and mortar or be it on other websites. So, like, are you guys maybe taking a look at that, whatever they put in, and do you have like some kind of like maybe minimum qualifications, like, hey, they have zero presence in brick and mortar nor online marketplaces. I'm not sure we want them on Walmart yet until they have it established, or do you have like some kind of minimums that you guys put into place?
No minimums per se. I mean, the basic requirements would be, basic stuff like name, address, U.S. tax ID, W-9, W-8, EIN, et cetera. We've got payment requirements. Currently, Payoneer and Hyperwallet, are our requirements. One of those two. There's basic requirements for, your shipping information, your pricing model, just confirming you're able to ship. If you're not, we have a solution in place, for that, called Walmart Fulfillment Services, which I think we may talk about a bit later. You have to stipulate to your product guidelines and things like that. But in terms of like a size of business, no, there's no requirement. I mean, we do in the application process currently, ask for, and some of these are required fields. Some of them are elective fields. But the more we know about your assortment, the better we can kind of route you to the proper teams who would support your onboarding right on the platform. And so if you're a seller bringing thousands of items in a certain, that's dominant in, let's say, consumables or maybe even in beauty, we want to know that, because we want to get in touch and put you in touch with those support teams that can help, ramp you pretty quickly. But on the other side of that, if you're an upstart selling, 3 or 4 SKUs, maybe you're not able to direct ship, but you think WFS would be right for you. We also have tools available, to you there in terms of self-help and automated best practices, things like that. So essentially, like, I would not discourage anybody from signing up, because, your no business starts at, billions. And so in the same way, we want to be democratic on who can get to the platform. The business size and the type of business you're doing, as long as you're a good actor, we have a solution for you. I think we just ask questions to kind of help you help us help you, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Now, one of the most common questions I get, and this is because, at Helium 10, we have tens of thousands, if not more, of customers and partners who are based overseas, but like, for example, selling on US based marketplaces.
Sure.
So the most common question I would get from that cohort would be, hey, I'm based in Australia, I'm based in Germany. What is needed, or can I even apply to sell on a Walmart USA?
Yeah, for sure. International is a huge area of our expansion. Currently, the Walmart Marketplace, Walmart US Marketplace, is open to sellers domestically, obviously. We also have China as an open market, and we've opened up India this year. So that's been true. China was a large cohort last year. We have also opened up a couple of new ones this year, including Canada, the UK, and Mexico. And we're greatly expanding the number of markets this year as well. And I can't specify, but we have literally dozens of them we expect to add this year. And I think what's interesting is that works both ways in terms of like sellers based in those markets being able to access our US customer base, but also US based sellers who want to reach the Walmart customer base in country, right? So for Mexico-based sellers right now, they can take advantage of both sides of that coin, right?
Okay.
And so it's really cool to see that we're working both sides of that. I mean, obviously our presence in international markets outside of the US varies, but I think that's two parts to the international expansion question. Make sense?
Yeah. So then what about, like, let's just say I'm not in Mexico, I'm in Germany, and I want to sell in Walmart USA. Like, do I need a business entity in the USA in order to apply, or I'm just I'm going to use we have an actually evangelist who's named Marcus Mokros. He's from Germany. So can I apply to sell in Walmart USA? I'm based in Germany and my name is Marcus Mokros, or do I need to actually set up a company first?
Yeah, if you have a U.S. entity like a U.S. HQ that meets those same guidelines in terms of tax ID, W-9, W-8, et cetera, then absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
it just becomes a question of essentially the logistics and legal and billing in terms of where the entity is based. But that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. And then we've talked about Americans want to sell here, foreigners, foreign companies, regardless of where I'm at. What's your elevator pitch on why, hey, this is a good time to start selling on the Walmart platform?
Yeah, I think, again, zooming out is what helps there. We all know some of the largest players in the space in terms of who's been doing it really well for a long time on 3P platforms and who's doing it at scale. One of the things we're discovering from conversations with our sellers in the market generally, right, is that, look, business is plateauing, and sellers of all sizes are increasingly looking for different and additional and larger opportunities to basically expand. I mean, I had an old boss that said trees don't grow to the sky, and so I think in terms of like moment in time, we're at a great place for sellers to be finding a large scale opportunity to sort of manage those growth goals. I think the flip side of that is while we actually have a large fraction of the web traffic and sort of digital customer base that you might find on quote unquote certain other digital retailers, the number of sellers we have competing for that mind share, right, is a much smaller fraction. And so what that means is there's a window here where you can essentially get scale and compete less for the scale of that mind share. So essentially share of voice among our sellers right now is comparatively much higher. I think also just in terms of Walmart, and I think we've seen this, I think you might have even, Bradley, participated in some press last week on this that mentioned how the Walmart brick and mortar footprint is increasingly an asset.
Oh, you saw that? You saw that?
I wasn't CNBC. Sure if we were allowed to talk about
Look at
it.
that. You're doing homework on me. I like it. Yeah, I saw. I was like, oh my goodness, it has 200,000 views.
No.
I'm going to retire from the podcast. Now I'm famous.
Let me be generous and say I didn't have to do any homework. It was in my face.
Oh, okay.
You were everywhere, man. No, like it's just like it's so cool to think that we're so close to the customer already.
Yeah.
90% of the customers in the U.S. live within 10 miles of a Walmart brick and mortar store, right?
Wow.
Smarter people than me at other divisions at Walmart have been thinking for quite a while about how to best leverage that. And so, getting into Walmart Marketplace now is not just about how to leverage our current .com business, right? It's also about how do I just start to form a relationship with the Walmart omni customer, right? Because we do, comparatively to any other retailer in the world, have greater scale from an omni capacity, right?
Yeah.
Not yet number one in e-commerce penetration, but certainly number one in total omni. So there's an immediate opportunity for greater share of voice on the .com, and there is a, what I'll say, mid and long-term opportunity for huge sort of closeness to an increasingly large customer who might be a brick and mortar shopper now, but is increasingly going to be a digital or an omni shopper, or really thinking less and less about those distinctions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, you've talked about who, you've talked about why. Let's talk about the how. So I'm not selling on Walmart.com currently. What's the steps I need to take to rectify that situation?
Sure. You're not personally? Are you speaking for the
I'm just, it's hypothetical. I actually am. I have two different Walmart accounts, one for the company and one for my other side case study. So I'm already there. But like a lot of our listeners are as well. But we have over 100,000 downloads a month. There's a big portion, I think, who have not yet applied, and so I'm just wondering what's the steps now, because I have the last time I applied was probably like a couple years ago. So it's I'm probably out of the loop here.
Yeah, and I'll say first of all, we want you all to apply. So please come one, come all. And I think that when you do, if you're someone who might have approached the platform even 6 months ago, you'll definitely see some improvements. And as we continue to evolve that and get faster, and I can't talk about the roadmap just yet, but I'll say we're looking into simplifying and reducing friction on that as well. And I think we're in that balancing act of where we have to continue to deliver on customer promise and protect the customer. We also have to make it easier for sellers to work with us. And so it's a good time to sort of be part of that, I'll say. But it's really super simple. I mean, If you're working with a solution provider, I mean, here we are talking to Helium 10, but there are dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, out there, and we have an increasingly stable of those that are sort of authorized on our platform. It's really quick and simple to work with your solution provider, right? To just activate an ARM Walmart Marketplace among the other e-commerce outlets you're already using. And so that is super fast because they've got the pipes and the API connections in the works already, and it's just logistically pretty simple for you to get loaded, get onboarding, get the items set up, and just start firing. But if you're not working with a solution provider or an agency, super simple. I mean, it's marketplace.walmart.com. Marketplace.walmart.com. Go there, and you're going to go through a guided setup process that's going to, try to approve you, and then talk about a contract, and then register and get your items set up, and then go through an onboarding process and get to launch. So, in most cases, we can make that process turn around in a week or so, sometimes faster. And so, that's the basic idea: is anybody can go to marketplace.walmart.com and go through the automated process.
Yep. All right, guys. And I remember, the first company I worked at way before my Helium 10 days, and this was just around the time that Walmart Marketplace was opening up. It took, I want to say, like a good 5 months to get set up, and then we had to do API stuff and all this stuff way back in the day. Like we must have been one of the first ones. So, some people I hear, they're like, oh yeah, that's how it is. That's why I don't want to do it. Guys, no, this is not the case anymore. I've heard of people getting, approved in as fast as less than a day. So it can be a day, it could be 7 up to a week. Like Matt said. So we actually have a special link. Using a Helium 10 URL. So guys, you can go to helium10.com/apply.walmart, or you could use the link that Matt gave. It's pretty much the same thing. The only difference is if you use the helium10.com/apply-walmart. And then if you're watching this on YouTube later, we'll try and throw that link up on the screen. But then we might be able to give some, our customer service might be able to link you with Walmart a little bit better if you run into issues. So, now, speaking of issues that could come up, let's say, hey, I've applied, whether it was yesterday, whether it was, a couple months ago, and was not approved at the time. So do I just go back to the link and reapply, or what's the process there?
I would say no, don't do that, because we do have an appeals process in place, and we want to make sure that we're focusing that effort on just a single application, right? Single seller application, that we don't, sort of get distracted there. So you will receive a notification if there are any, concerns or questions about your application. I will say, in some cases, you will receive what's called a hard decline, which is where we just know from a trust and safety or a legal compliance standpoint that the assortment that
they suck. No, okay.
Well,
that's not a legal terminology.
it does not say you suck in the
okay.
To be sure. But again, on the customer promise, there are some spaces we can go. So, for example, I'll just rattle a couple off. Right now, CBD is a category that is not currently greenlit on Walmart Marketplace, and we're not unique in that. A number of e-commerce platforms have not yet unlocked that, or have not unlocked that. But we're also increasingly opening up new categories as we're able to properly vet them with trust and safety and compliance. And so, a couple of examples with that is, and depending on who we're talking to, live animals. Right. So live fish, live insects, things like that. We were not able to take a few months ago, and now we are. The adult novelty.
You can buy live fish on Walmart.com?
You can buy live fish on Walmart.com, my friend.
Dang.
Adult novelty might seem, obvious as a category for a maybe somewhat, conservative company historically to sort of steer clear from. But, our customer has great demand for that category. And we were able to safely, vet and unlock that with a number of guidelines about what products we can accept. But, it's no longer sort of a wall or a hard no. And so I'd say some of those, appeals process will be non-starters, because you might find yourself in a hard decline area. But, increasingly and by and large, if you get, a decline, it could be what's called, one that is appealable, or a soft decline. And there's a process in place for that, right? And you will have access to that in Seller Center. Also on marketplace.walmart.com, there will be resources guiding you as to how to appeal it. I would just say, as a best practice, make sure that you sort of give all the context you can, because in an appeal, you're going to a live human. It's probably not a bot, or an AI algorithm that's reading. It's a real person. And so just to minimize back and forth, and to provide proper consideration for your appeal, be sure to give the whole story, give as much context as you can. If you're active on other marketplaces or other websites, show us that, right? Show us PDFs or links, and really just any relevant documentation that you think we would need. Really overkill on that, and just err on the side of too much, and that'll allow us to properly evaluate your candidacy.
Okay. Now, earlier on in the show, you mentioned WFS. So like 1 minute pitch on WFS. What does it stand for? What's the benefits of it? And would you suggest it for everybody, or only if they're doing a certain number of units per month, et cetera?
Dude, I don't know what your airtime is worth. I'll do this in 30 seconds, man. WFS, Walmart Fulfillment Services, essentially helps us to help you by taking the heavy lifting of fulfillment off of your plate, making sure that you can stay in stock, because you're going to ship your product to us. We're going to house it in our FCs, right? And we're going to be able to manage the inventory that way, stay in stock. You're going to show up, right, as fulfilled and shipped by Walmart, which is going to increase your search rankings and your organic relevancy and your performance, in the rankings. So essentially, you're going to pay a fee for that, but it's going to allow you to stay in stock all the time, make sure that you're never not able to sort of be in that buy box. And it more than pays for itself in terms of the productivity, because we see an average of 50% or greater GMV lift on sellers who use WFS. So I cannot espouse that service enough. Is that 30 seconds?
Hey, you hit it. You hit it. We actually do something on this show called a 30-second tip. We call it the TSC. So you might have just given one there. We're going to ask you for another one maybe at the end here. But again, we have a lot of our listeners where maybe they don't sell on Walmart, but they sell on other marketplaces. And one of the things they obsess over, as should any e-commerce, private label brand seller, is reviews. Like, hey, man, I got to get reviews. I got to get that social proof. What's it like on Walmart for sellers? Is it easy to get reviews? What have you seen?
Yeah, I think it's really crucial that we start right with what generates a positive review, and that is an exceptional product with an exceptional offer with exceptional customer service, right? And I think you can't really game yourself out of that. So, building block number one is you got to bring it to the customer, right? And so we find that, the folks that are going to do best with reviews and review syndication, which I'll talk about in a moment, is folks who have earned and organically, sort of built great reviews, right? Based on a great product, a great offer on that product, and great customer service, which includes so many things like shipping and returns and everything we all know that includes. So once you've sort of checked that box, we have a program called review syndication, which means, and again, I think we understand definitely, we're getting sellers from all over the e-commerce ecosystem, right? Folks that are really successful DTC sellers, or folks who are really successful in core retailers, right? Or. And so those reviews likely live in a lot of different places. And, we want to remove as a barrier your need to basically recreate, right, and rebuild your review base from scratch. So what review syndication does, and it currently is available, I won't say it's in pilot, but we are increasingly offering it to a larger stable of sellers free, at no cost, which essentially will pull in those reviews from a variety of sources, right? And so just allows us to deliver on customer promise by making them feel good and have high confidence in the value, right, of your product, of your offer, and your customer service. And it allows you to leverage the hard work that you've done as a seller to produce that and earn those bragging rights all over the e-com ecosystem. And so really great program. It's growing like gangbusters. And so an increasingly large stable of sellers are going to have access to that.
Okay, cool. You mentioned earlier when we were talking about WFS about how, it helps with like organic ranking and things like that. So, hey, that was one of my specialties. That's how I actually got into the whole e-commerce spaces. My specialty was like launches and getting people on page one of search results and PPC results and things. So, other than, hey, utilizing WFS, what are some strategies? Like, how do I get noticed? How do I get to the top of page one for organic results for one of my main keywords? What are some of these things that you can help us out with?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would say The best place to start there is the word organic, right? Which is, and again, keep coming back to customer, but you want to be where the customer is, and you want to be working, to get to where the puck, to head towards where the puck is going as well. And so,
did you say the puck because I'm wearing my Helium-10 hockey jersey here?
That is the only hockey reference I am qualified to make, sir. So
there we go. All right.
Please do not take us down that rabbit hole. But yes, I did notice your jersey, and I feel outdressed, definitely.
I'll send you one in the mail.
Thank you, my friend. Good.
There you go.
So yeah, organic means you are where the customer is. So that basically means if you have a large assortment, you're gonna plus up and really lean into the part of that assortment that is where the customer is in terms of trending, which is who saw COVID tests, for example, being a hot item. Well, suddenly companies with one or two SKUs, ratcheted way up to the sort of top sales rankings. And so really paying attention to where customer is and where they're going, and using that as a lens on the assortment that you bring and that you plus up and really work with our account management team on is going to be critical. I think there is a certain sort of cold start issue in all of these ecosystems that we're working to close, which is how do you make sure that even assortment that is on trend, right, the customer is searching for, gets noticed in the rankings. And so, we're definitely working on some product solutions for that. But in the meantime, WFS, again, is going to help that immediately. The other tool we have is WMC, or Walmart Connect. And this, your audience might not know, and certainly when you were first launching on the platform, Bradley, I don't think it was available because I was at Connect at the time. And I know we weren't working with marketplace sellers, but any marketplace seller today can be purchasing sponsored products from Walmart Connect, right? And you can immediately be running search campaigns and working with our automated and API connections, right, on the bidded auction to basically, win those higher search rankings. And so, as I mentioned, we get to work with that team a lot now, and you're going to see more tools from Walmart Connect become available to marketplace sellers. So that's what I'd say are the three, right?
Okay.
One, make sure that you're bringing the most relevant and on-trend items to the platform, so it will naturally be the most organic.
Sure.
Two, use WFS, right, which will increase the customer promise and the shipping commitment and delivery promise, right, which will spike the rankings as well. And then three, definitely consider using Walmart Connect to essentially help to make up some of that difference while you gain that organic search relevancy based on customer behavior. Make sense?
Okay. Yep, absolutely, absolutely. Now, I got to admit, I have a little FOMO here. Like I said, I run a couple of Walmart accounts and case study accounts, and I don't have this on my listing, but I see other Walmart listings. They have this little badge called Pro Seller. So what exactly is that, and how can I get my FOMO away by one day hopefully qualifying to get that badge?
I've been thinking about it as it comes up in discussions, and I've sort of started thinking about it as the gold star, in third grade, right? Which is, I was sitting next to Tara, right? And she got the gold scar, and I felt, why is Tara so special, right? And, but what it did is it made me sort of up my game, and I studied Tara and sort of what she needed to get the gold star, and then once in a while I would get the gold star. So I think, look, what it is Walmart saying to really everyone, the seller community and particularly the customer community, is like, this is a top seller, right? They've met certain criteria. And so, they are the gold star sellers that we think customers should pay even more attention to. And so we're actually going to give them performance boost because they've proven to us that they're just exceptional sellers, right? And then for the customer, it's basically a mark of high confidence because Walmart has essentially vetted these sellers. And so it makes everybody feel good. And, how do you get there? Is pretty simple, pretty quantitative. You want to minimize your delivery defect rates to less than 10%. You want to minimize your cancellations to less than 2%. If you think I'm reading a list, I am.
This is supposed to be the unscripted show. That's in my tagline. That's all right.
Oh, I've got decks.
Go ahead.
You should see the tabs on my Chrome here right now. But yeah, the listing quality score is going to be crucial. We call that OLQ, or online listing offer listing quality, OLQ. So you want to keep that at 70%. That's also a unique sales pitch, honestly, and a unique benefit of Walmart Marketplace is we let you know how well you're doing. We let you know, how you're showing up to the customer. And so there is no sort of like mystery about, why am I not getting clicks? Why am I not getting sales? My listing looks great to me. You'll know how well your listing looks. And so for a pro seller badge, you're going to want that above 70%.
Okay.
And you're going to want 60% of your catalog to be on trending items. So again, back to that question of organic, you're going to want trending catalog to be above 60%. You're going to want your orders to be over 100 in order count in the last 90 days.
Okay.
You're going to want to make sure that you're protecting customer and that you don't have any trust and safety violations or performance standards violations. And then finally, you just have to have been active on the platform for 60 days, which again is unique for us because in a lot of other platforms, they make you wait 90 days. So essentially, as long as you're on the platform 60 days and you're meeting all these criteria, we want to give you the gold star, right? And that will immediately boost, your position in the rankings and boost your sales.
Okay, cool. Now, one more question here before we get into a cool announcement about our Sell and Scale Summit. But you've mentioned a couple things in the pipeline here, but anything else? I know you can't give away everything, but anything else that you are able to say is coming for marketplace sellers in the near future?
Oh, you know who you're talking to, Bradley. You know how much trouble I get in. Here's what I'll say. We all know where customer is, because look, we love to talk about customers and consumers as if it's this other thing. It's all us, right? We all know what boat we're all in now. The challenging times that we're in. Walmart's been very vocal about how where we're focusing to try to help customer more, given where we are, in the world. So I would say, the best way to focus on this is just to know that what we're focusing on is sellers and assortments that can help us deliver on that customer promise, right? And so what that really means is you're going to see us coming out with product advances to make the onboarding, right, and item setup, and basically, the whole process it takes to get active as a seller is going to get shorter and it's going to get simpler, and we're going to remove a lot of friction, right? Because you can't help us meet our customer promise if you can't get on the platform. Again, if you meet the compliance and trust and safety guidelines and you have shown us that you are a legitimate actor, one thing you're going to see this year is a lot of our internal systems and the process it takes to be a lighter lift, right? I think you're also going to start to see increasingly less of a disparity in and a more agnostic approach to what we show customer, right? And as I said, we're not tilting the table, one way or the other. We're not generally prioritizing like 1P over 3P in terms of what the customer sees. We're not prioritizing or tilting the table in favor of one marketplace seller versus another. Again, it's on the marketplace seller to really bring the best offer, and may the best offer win the day, right? And what you're going to see is a lot more tools from us to help sellers do exactly that. So I think we're coming from a great place where the visibility, the transparency that we provide sellers, right, in terms of the listing quality, how it's going, is already at a comparatively strong point versus the market. We are offering greater share of voice, right, in this window where digital scale is high, but competition with their sellers is relatively low, right? And I think what you're going to find is honestly we're very receptive and sourcing a lot of feedback from sellers, right? I mean, we all have our AES surveys in our various companies, engagement scores, but we have entire teams dedicated to listening to the voice of the seller and the seller community, right? And so you're just going to see acceleration on all fronts this year, and it's not because we're greedy Gus's, it's because we just have to. I mean, we owe that to the customer. And I think you're going to find a very receptive partner in Walmart, and you're going to see a lot of things come out. And that's all I can say.
All right. Hey, you gave us a little bit there. So we'll be possibly hitting you up for more at this next announcement. So I've been talking about the Sell and Scale Summit for a couple months here on the show. So I think most of my audience knows what that is. However, what they don't know, what nobody knows, because we've never announced this before, would you like to perhaps make this announcement about what in the world is Walmart's participation in the Sell and Scale Summit? This is breaking news here. You heard it first here on the Serious Sellers podcast. Go ahead.
Super excited to announce that Walmart's going to be the title and registration sponsor at Helium 10's Sell and Scale event. Super exciting. sellers are going to have a one-of-kind opportunity to engage. They're going to receive in-person support from the Walmart Marketplace, from Walmart Connect, and from Walmart Fulfillment team, WFS. And so, yeah, super excited to break that news here. And it was cool that you saved it. I assume that was the last question, but I don't know if you're bearing the lead.
Well, kind of. I'm going to ask you for one more tip, but that was the big one of the big reveals here, guys. So that's huge. So many people, like I said, have all these questions about Walmart. I'm sure we were able to answer most of them, but maybe you have a more, localized question that we didn't cover today. Well, you will literally have, representatives from those departments that will be on hand to at least hopefully try to answer some of those questions. And that's pretty unique, guys. And so we really appreciate that Walmart can see the value in our community enough to sponsor this event. That's so awesome. And guys, you need to take advantage of this, because you can't walk into the Bentonville, like we mentioned, office and say, hey guys, I need some help with my setting up my WFS. I'm not sure how to do this, or how do I do this Walmart Connect? You can't really knock on the door and do that, but you're going to have that kind of experience here at Sell and Scale. So if you're a first-time listener and you don't know what Sell and Scale is, make sure to go to our website. I have a short link to it, h10.me/S3, h10.me/S3. Make sure to register now. We've got amazing keynote speakers there, like Gary Vee, Rachel Peterson. I'll be speaking there. Some of your favorites like Kevin King and more. So make sure to come out. We've got Nelly performing. I mean, who if you're a kid,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Nelly's performing. I want you front row for that. Hopefully, Matt, you and I will be reminiscing about our high school or college days there. But guys, come out h10.me/S3. If you want to save $100 off the registration, you can use my code. I think it's S3 BS100. I love my initials, by the way. I love just saying BS. It's just like sticks in people's minds more. So S3 BS100. Use that code to save $100 off. All right, now I teased this in the beginning, but something we always ask our guest is like a 30-second tip. So like, somebody wants to have success on Walmart. You've been talking about a lot of strategies that can help them, but is there anything we haven't talked about that, you can say in 30 seconds or a minute or less for somebody to really start off on the right foot with Walmart.com?
Yeah. What we haven't said that I think is really critical to land the plane on is definitely come onto the platform, but don't be bashful. Okay. And what I mean by that is, you'll only gain as much learnings, as you put skin in the game. And so, regardless of how big your assortment is or what space you're in, really bring it. Take this unique window of opportunity where share of voice is high and momentum is strong, to learn as much as you can about our platform. And I think that literally means like, bring your full assortment, bring your best offers.
Yep.
Understand it's going to be a little clunky, right, as we build this sculpture, but don't be bashful. Like, let us help you scale and bring everything you can.
Awesome. Now, are you personally going to be at Sell and Scale?
I believe so. I mean, Bradley,
well, I need you before I say something.
Invite in the mail yet, but
I need you to pre-agree to it before I say what it is, and you got to trust me on this. But you got to agree to it. You can't go back on it. Can I have your word that you're going to participate in something that's happening at the show? It's nothing too crazy.
Okay.
All right. He said, all right, you guys heard it here. He said, okay, all right. I am personally leading a Zumba fitness dance class on day 1.
Oh my God.
Of it. All right. So you just agreed. All right. Matt, you are going to be doing some Zumba fitness with us. So, it's going to be Vegas. So, people might not want to wake up in the morning.
I feel so sorry for anybody who has to witness that.
You guys heard it. You're going to see Matt from Walmart leading the Zumba fitness class, at least one routine with me. Don't worry. It's nothing too hard. If I can do it, I used to be a sumo wrestler. If I can do it, then anybody can. But anyways, there we go. Another reason for you guys.
Yes, my friend. You're just, wow.
Another reason for you guys to come to S3. Hopefully we don't get that edited out here. You can't go back on your word now, Matt.
Well, if you're going to edit that out, I've got one more story about an old man in an old truck who tried to return his Siemens furniture branded sofa to Siemens Corporation in New Jersey, which makes train engines. So to your earlier question about, not being able to show up in Bentonville and like knock on the door.
Yeah. A little bit different company there. Yeah. All right. Well, Matt, thank you so much for coming on. It's a real pleasure and privilege to have somebody from Walmart come here. And then, of course, again, thanks again for participating in our Sell and Scale event. And I'll be seeing you in September on the Zumba stage there.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here, guys. Thank you so much.